Okay, so welcome
Is she-
to
Is she on the
September-
phone?
Yeah, welcome to the September 9th Ad Hoc Committee for the Harbor Area Rec and Park Public Safety Committee. I am Melanie Lebrecq and I am the chair. We are going to start with attendance. So we've got Dan, yes, and we've got John
Yes.
and Angela. Chris is excused because he's got a work job tonight, so he's excused. Kelly has her grandchild, so she is not able to attend because it's sick. And Noel, I'm not sure where he is. So with that being said, the meeting's called to order, so I'm going to share the nope, that is not it. Why is that? Stop share. Where is the right thing? Try this again. Where is the PDF? Share. There we go. There's the agenda. Thank you. So, why this is doing weird stuff. There we go. I must have bumped that. So the first thing that we're going to do is go over kind of ground rules and process here. So one thing we need to do is keep our comments concise and on subject. We need to stay on point. We need to be respectful of each other. The process itself is commitment by all appointed ad hoc committee and agree to complete our tasks that were assigned. Everyone gets to be heard. Stay on mute, raise your hand, 2 minutes per person. Agenda needs to be gotten through completely, and meeting needs to start and end on time. Okay, so those are our ground rules. So that being said, the first thing we're going to go over is update on all reports assigned. So what I'm going to do is just start going through. So where are you guys at with the budget stuff and all of that at this time?
Is that 8, 9, and 10?
Yeah, 8, 9, and 10.
Well, from speaking only for myself, I'm still I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I started coming up with a list of questions that I felt were relevant, and then it dawned on me they might have been not all appropriate in terms of the group of people that we will presumably have at the town hall.
Right.
I don't want it to be confrontational. That was never my intent. So I want to first of all pare down questions so that we're left with a few essential ones, and keep it relevant to teamwork, to a couple of key issues, especially permitting within the park system, and how enforcement of that can be done in a positive way, and what we need to do to be helpful with it. So I'm really trying to rein myself in and come up with relevant questions that can engender discussion rather than confrontation.
Okay, yeah. Basically, just what we want to do is hopefully, like, if you can, talk to them, meet with them, kind of dig their brain for some information, and kind of collect information, because
Right.
what we've developed now, what I've got, and I'll show you on the format on the end of where we're at with the format of the town hall, you'll see why it's important. What we're going to do is a little different, and we've I don't want to say that Ray said this, but I had a meeting with him and we went through a very concise way that we can do this. It's going to be a little bit more efficient and kind of, I agree with the way that he came up with kind of to do this. So we'll go over it at one of the agenda items.
Oh,
And
okay,
just see where I'm going with this. And it'll kind of
okay,
make sense with what you're doing now,
good.
talking to them. It'll make sense. For
I-
us, for
I
Angela,
got also for Joe, I've called him, and yesterday and today he's been out of the office. So I talked to the girl that's there, and she says Monday would be a better bet to get a hold of him. So I'll try again then and see if I could set something up. Because his office, is it right here, you guys said, in
No.
PV?
he is stationed out at I'm having a brain dead moment here.
Angel's Gate.
No, he's not at Angel's Gate. He is Joe, the park ranger head, LaRosa.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were
He's-
talking about Joe Stackhouse.
He's based up at what is it up by the in Hollywood area? What is the big park? The Griffith
you-
Park. Yes.
Griffith, oh, he's over there?
Based out
Wait,
of
did you hear
Griffith.
me on mute?
I'm sorry. It's been one of those days.
Because I thought last time he was here, remember? I thought he had an office here in
No,
by,
he never has. He's the head.
okay,
Park Ranger Station is at Ken Mowry Harbor Gateway Park. That's where one of the harbor stations is, where they're out of.
okay.
But that's just where a lot of the Rangers are based out of. But he is the bigwig, and he's at Griffith.
Okay. Okay.
And I
Yeah,
dealt with him before with the arming park rangers and all of that and different issues. He's
I'll
a good
give him a
guy.
call back. Yeah, he was in one of our meetings one day, remember?
Yeah, at our public safety meeting. He's a good
Yeah.
guy. It's just
Yeah.
he's hard to get a hold of sometimes. And
Yeah,
email
that's what-
sometimes works better than a phone call.
I don't know if it was because of the brain situation that's hitting us or what he was doing, but he was out. He was out at a couple of different parks.
Did you hear
Well,
me,
he's got-
John? No?
Huh?
Email sometimes works better than a phone call to him.
Okay.
He's
You
got
you have his
300
email?
Yeah, I have his email.
Would you send it to me? Text it to
Yes,
me
I'll
later?
send it to you.
Okay.
He's got 300 parks to oversee, so he's busy.
Angela?
I emailed Joe today though. Are we duplicating efforts here?
No, he's talking about budget and allocation
Oh,
of park rangers. We're going to be talking about permits and them
Got it.
enforcing and safety at the park.
okay.
Yeah,
So John,
our
when you
situation
talk
is-
to him, you might just let him know that he might be contacted by multiple people because we're taking on different subject areas.
Right. Okay.
Or if
Yeah, I'm
you
gonna
want
talk to him
let
about,
me know
find out
later.
about, yeah, my thing is just to find out about, does he have money in his budget and can he get more people and stuff? That's,
Okay, well, maybe we could touch base later, so that we're not, duplicating our efforts and taking up too much of his time.
yeah, okay.
You want to, okay, I'll talk.
Yeah,
with
we
you
could do that. Yeah, we could, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna try to get a hold of him Monday,
after. Okay,
and then, and like Mel said, maybe I could, if he's in his office, I could take a ride and go see him. I don't care,
Right.
so sometimes face to face is better than,
Yeah. All the way at Griffith Park, though.
not
well,
in a heat wave.
Well, it's nice for me because, I'm retarded. I'm retired, so I have all the time in the world.
Okay. Noel? Or
Yeah,
no,
thanks, Melanie. I'm sorry. I'm in my car. I'm actually driving to a job. So I'm not going to be able to be on for the whole meeting.
Right.
But I wanted to hop on for as long as I could, which would be at least a
Okay.
few minutes. I just had a comment about the mission statement, which I think is item number 9.
uh-huh.
And it's a good mission statement. I'm in favor of it, and I like it. But it just seems that really the main thrust of this committee is a Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council kind of thing. And I'm 100% in favor of supporting the efforts of Northwest, just like, our 3
Right.
San Pedro Neighborhood Councils really tend to line up to support each other on these kinds of things. And I'm a little bit concerned that it really is a Northwest thing, but the proposed name that we're calling it is the Harbor Area Neighborhood Council Town Hall kind of thing or whatever. And it's really a Northwest sponsored event. And I think that it would be better, especially given the mission statement, which clearly says that Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council wants to work with the various agencies, blah, blah, blah. I don't remember. I obviously I don't have it memorized, and I'm certainly not reading
Right.
it in the car. But that's the mission statement of the group and the whole point of it. And so I think that the town hall should be sponsored by Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council Town Hall on, public safety in our parks, or whatever we ultimately decide we want to call it. And I have no doubt that other neighborhood councils, central and coastal, would certainly, if there were any motions that arose out of it or anything like that, we'd certainly be willing to support. But I think that to call it a harbor area neighborhood council town hall, when in reality it's a Northwest sponsored event, and it's really, except for me being from coastal, there aren't any other of the neighborhood councils from the harbor area
Okay.
involved in the planning stages. I
Well,
just think
I'm
it's
gonna
better to
interrupt
call it
right now because we're
Yeah.
only on agenda number 3.
I know, I was going to
So
call
you're
a point
out
of
of
order
order
so
on
that
the
I could.
agenda number
Yeah,
1.
I was going to call a point of order in order to be able
Yeah.
to talk about that, because I can't be on the meeting until we get to agenda number 9.
And also, thank you for your comment, but the name is the name, because the safety involves, no matter what happens, what we address, it involves the harbor area. The harbor area is what, no matter what we do at one park, is going to affect all parks, because they can't just change the permit process for one, or change the ranger process for one, just the parks in Northwest. No matter what, this is going to affect the whole harbor area, no matter what changes are implemented. So that's why it's named that. And you chose to attend. Other neighborhood councils did not choose to attend. They were invited, they did not. So
And do they have a full understanding of, for
they
example,
do,
what
they've
you
had
just,
2 emails to them. And I asked for 1 representative from each neighborhood council. It is what it is. You can only do so much. And if they choose not to attend, then they choose not to. They've been invited twice. That's all I can say on that subject. But we're going to move on to the agenda. Update on reports assigned. So Angela, so we've got appointments for permitting with Rec and Park to do a Zoom with them. We've got an appointment with LAPD to discuss safety with them.
Mhm.
And we're working on an appointment with Joe LaRosso from Park Rangers about
Yeah.
safety. So that's
And
where
that will
we're
take
at.
next-
Our
That will
appointments
take place next week also.
are this
So
all
all
next
next
week. They're all next
Mhm.
week, our appointments.
Mhm.
So we should have some sort of information by the 19th meeting for our stuff.
Right.
Social media, Chris has nothing on right now because he has not done it. He's been swamped with work, but he will work on it.
Okay.
And that's what he said. Trying to think, was there any, those were the only things really that were, oh, and Chris, I don't know about his update on the drills and all of that they do on preparedness. But I think that's all the updates on those, and we're proceeding along on that. So the invite, the final draft invite, I will show it to you. I had 2 people send me their letters, their redraft of their letters. What I chose to do on that is because both of your letters that you sent were similar in parts, but both had very good parts in it that you had. So what I did is I took the 2 letters and took the good parts that worked and combined them.
Perfect.
Okay.
Mhm.
So that being said, let me stop this share and bring up the Word document. There it is. There. So here is the top part. Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council will be hosting a town hall And then be October. So we invite your office agency. So Dan, the one thing that I took out was the questions, because what will happen is those questions, we don't give them to them now. Once they say they're coming, then we'll give them questions and their Zoom link.
Okay.
But so what do you think?
Looks good. I would leave out the optional, like the people who aren't going to be panelists. I don't know if I would include them on that invitees list.
Right,
Like
that's
the
what I thought too, taking the press off and the
Yeah,
face,
yeah, yeah.
take them off and this.
Because they're not going to be
if they-
panelists.
Right, and take this guy.
Yeah.
So just have those. Like that. What do
Mhm.
you think? I think we're good to go.
Yeah.
I think this will work.
Now, just to channel Dan for a second, I would, in the invitees list, spell out recreation,
Where?
second from the bottom.
Oh, okay, recreation and parks.
Well, spell out and in that line.
Oh,
then- And then second from the bottom, Los Angeles County Department of Park and Recreation.
Parks and Recreation.
park. Okay.
Oh, good one. I didn't even see the missing S.
Oh.
I don't know why that does that. I wish I knew more about how whatever program this is works.
What is this doing?
I wound up rewriting. the whole
Maybe, do
thing,
you
so
have a text box? Do you need to make it longer on the right-hand side of the page?
That could very well be.
Well,
Maybe.
it
Yeah, the
should go out
format-
it should go out because look at the other stuff, you know, additional,
Yeah.
response, no, it's out there, so.
I had the same problem with it on this draft that Melanie sent.
What the?
Just keep you on your toes.
Well, I'm not gonna fix it during this meeting. I will go.
Yeah.
I'll
I'm
get
sorry, all. I'm at my work and I have to go. I apologize,
Okay.
but yeah.
Good
Thank
night,
you,
Noel.
Noel.
Again.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
You
you.
know, thank you, buddy.
So.
Okay,
Yeah,
so other than
I'll fix it
slide format-
after, but otherwise, other than that, I'll fix that before it goes out. I'll
Okay.
go in and see what its problem is and see if it's something in my margins that are set up wrong or something.
Can we go back to the top for just a moment?
Yep.
Your invitees, yeah. After the time and date, we invite and request participation from your office / agency as a panelist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It looks, I just hadn't read it
Yeah,
closely. Okay.
alrighty,
Yes,
good to go?
Either
good to
that-
go. Well done.
Either
Okay,
they'll be insulted or they will participate.
right.
They'll participate.
So collaborative effort, which that's what this is all about, you
Right.
know, and
It's gotta be that we're teamwork. Let's work
Exactly.
with them and find out how can we help you?
And remember,
So
we've been reaching out to
Yeah.
these people already on the topic. It's not like this invitation is going to come out of context. They've already all heard from us.
Well,
in
that's
setting
true.
up our meetings.
But now we gotta make them with all these people that hopefully they'll be there and stuff. Now they gotta know that we
Okay,
need
so-
to really get into this and we really need to let them know, hey, you need help. What can we do? Why are we having these problems?
So now the next thing is the format. And Dan, you'll see what we come up with. If I can get my screen share to stop and go over to the Word document. There we go. That is not it. Where is it? There we go. Okay. So this is kind of the general the agenda will have like all the Zoom stuff on it and all that up here. What we'll have is one agenda for us that will have all the questions that we want to ask underneath, that we want answered under each department. Okay, that I'll have generate for all of us. But the agenda that goes out to the public will just have the different departments listed under it, and that they get 1 minute to speak, 15 minutes on each agenda item. We have to list that, or otherwise they can go on for days talking after each agenda item, and we will never get done. So what's going to happen is initially we're going to have a welcome and reading of the mission statement. Ray will give a comment from Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council, introduction of the panelists, and then I will read a paper that has the ground rules for everybody for the meeting. From that, we will have LAPD, Rec and Park, Park Rangers all give their input on the July 24th incident to talk about the update, not go back, but to give us an update of everything that's transpired since.
Okay.
LAPD then will have them speak, and we will send them specific questions and things we want them to talk about. We will have Dan, John, or Chris on when they start talking about, because during this time, LAPD will talk about safety. They'll talk about the budget. They'll talk about all the things that we have been researching. So when it comes up to safety, then Angela will be watching and listening, and she will be the point person then to do follow-up questions that they didn't answer everything that we know that we've already gone over during our meetings with them. If they miss something, then she can prod them for more information. Then same with the budget stuff. If they go over only a couple of the things that you just wanted them to talk about, then you can say, but what about this? And didn't we discuss, like, oh, well, you can allocate from here, you know, this amount of money, you know, for this or whatever. You know, those are the things that will prod questions during that time if they don't discuss what we want them to discuss and they miss some stuff. So then the same thing will happen with Rec and Parks. We'll go through all of the stuff again. But what we have to have at this point is designated people that are going to be the point person to prod them. I am not going to do any of the prodding unless something just goes amiss that I feel like I need an answer to for the public. But I'm going to facilitate the whole meeting. So as facilitator, I'm non-biased and run the meeting. Then we'll go down to LA Fire Department, Park Rangers, the same thing. Then once after each department speaks, we'll open it up for 15 minutes of public comment, 1 minute apiece. Then once we're all done, general public comment, 1 minute each only, speak once until everyone has had a chance to speak at the end for general public comment. And at that point, within this, these different departments too, there will be allowances for some of the special guests, like for instance, the CD15 candidates, the, say the chamber, or say the, who else? The faith-based people. If they want to say something also, they will not be part of the general, you know what I'm saying? There'll be allowances for them also to speak within this too. But this, after hashing it out, and Angela knows, we tried to get a hold of you, Dan, and you weren't answering your phone.
What?
To come over with us to discuss this with Ray, but you weren't answering your phone. Angela came over and that's when we came up with this format. And I really think it's a good format. It's a good idea based on to get the information that we need. And Ray's like, you really need to limit the time limits here, or you could be there all night. You need to allow, and even like a lot of neighborhood councils have time limits on their public comments on agenda items to be able to get through your agenda, and you aren't there for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. He says, and it's common to do. So, yeah, I think it'll work. I really do.
Yeah, the word, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry. The wording on the last one, though, until everyone has had a chance to speak, or until 9 o'clock or something like that. So they don't think they're entitled to their minute, even if we reach the end of the meeting time.
Okay, or until.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
9
I just don't
p.m.
want everyone to think they'll get a minute, even if there's, an infinite number of people with questions. We have to stop it at a certain time.
Yeah, so that way
It ends.
it ends at 9.
Mhm.
Any input at all? What do you think?
Who's doing the timing?
Victor is going to be the sergeant at arms. He's non-biased, not on the ad hoc committee, and
And extremely efficient.
and extremely efficient. He's going to
Yep.
be, his screen is going to be on during public comment, and it's going to be a clock.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be just like what Wednesday's meeting with Amber, how she kept it going and she said 10
Right.
seconds,
Exactly.
and everybody stopped. Yeah, that'll work perfect like that.
They only gave like a minute then too, with Amber's meeting,
Yeah. Yeah.
because they had so many people that it was a minute.
Yeah, and they wanted to keep it an hour.
Yep.
So
So I think it's important, I don't want people to think that we're trying to limit free speech or anything like that, because we really aren't, but we have to run a 3-hour meeting. If we end up having 100 people attend, this could get chaotic if everybody wants to take 2 minutes and then raise their hand 4 and 5 times,
Mhm.
yeah, but we gotta, and how some of the people are. I mean, we just gotta really be conscientious about that, because this can turn into a 10 o'clock, 10:30 deal.
Right.
And we, first of all, we don't want to piss off LAPD, Parks and
Right.
Rec.
Well, that's the thing.
Every-
They're taking time to be there and limited time that they have on their schedules. And that's why we need to
Exactly.
invite them way ahead of time, because their schedules is, I was told by communications officer at LAPD that the captain's schedule fills up fast. And so we need to make sure that we dial it in right away for when we need him.
Oh yeah, last time when I talked to Ulmer, he says even him,
Yeah.
I had to do something now to get him to come to the Assistance League in January. That's the only opening he had.
Yep. I believe it.
To come and do a 15-minute, the ladies want to know
I'm
about
even
this
having
and
a problem
that.
scheduling a neighborhood watch meeting with him because of his schedule right now.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's important to be cognizant of their schedule and their time. If they're setting that time aside, we need to make sure that this meeting goes 3 hours and that's it. The 6 to 9 is prescribed. So that's why all of this here is important to stick to.
Yeah,
So,
because you got here 30, 1 hour, So we have here, yeah, an hour and a half right
Of
here
question time.
of
and then-
question time,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And
And
so,
then an hour and a half for presentation. That sounds good. That sounds like a good balance.
and however
is.
much time they take speaking too, before they start answering questions,
Right, right.
you know, so that's part of it too. So,
yeah, but they only have 15 minutes to talk, right?
we want them to condense their updates and all that within, in 15 minutes each for them to say.
Right, yeah,
So I'm gonna have to convey that to them when I send the Zoom links. You know, we want you to try and briefly go over these things, you know, for 15 minutes, you know, talk for 15, and then we will, you know, have rebuke like things to you. And yeah, so
yeah, I mean, okay, and give or take, you know, they, depending on their report and what they have and, you know, how
each
truthful they,
segment you say is like 30 minutes each.
Yeah.
So that's
But-
that's
yeah,
an
but if
hour.
they, yeah,
That's
but if
2
they might
hours.
do 16, 17 minutes, I mean, we can, you know, if they can finish it off in 16, 17 minutes, that's fine. I mean, we got them there, but not to go 20, 25, 30 minutes, no.
Nobody's gonna
15,
want to
15.
talk that long. I mean,
No, but you never know. I've seen it where sometimes they've done where they've got such a lot of things they wanted to put in and say, but you know,
See, but
this is a
like this
special meeting.
first part of this is like 2 hours, 2.5. So that leaves 30 minutes for public comment, general public comment,
I
depending
think
on,
I think the way you've structured this is plenty adequate. Very few of these public officials are gonna want to talk for 15 minutes.
yeah,
So I think you got some skosh room here, and that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I mean, it's only an hour and 15 minutes. No, it's an hour and a half. It's an
I
hour
mean-
and a half, but it's plenty of, I think, and maybe a couple of these might only use 10 minutes.
right, which,
See, you know, even though they got 15, they finish it within 10 minutes, and that's a beautiful thing. That's better for us, you know.
well, and remember, we're gonna be talking to them leading up to it. So we'll have a sense of what they're gonna be talking about.
and they'll have a sense of what we want.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's coming together really nicely. I like the way it's organized.
So, yeah, so I think if I can get everybody to kind of like, you know, bid in on this and agree to it, then I think we can move on and just and then what we'll do is we'll try in on the 29th, the last meeting, plug in all the information into
Mhm.
it. But right now, on the 13th and the 19th, what I want to do is develop the questions that we're going to have to send to them for the Zoom.
Right,
We really need
That's
to
re-
develop
that's
those.
reasonable.
Yeah.
So
What we-
Gotcha.
So, anyway, so I'm gonna close this out. Oh, darn it. Why is this not closing? Oh,
Don't delete.
there's that.
There
Now,
you are.
go back here. And so we've got our things, start developing questions to send to panelists. So I don't know if we're there yet
That's
until we've had our meetings. I know for us, we aren't really, right, Angela?
yeah, I mean, we sort of have a sense of why we're
A
talking.
sense we
with them.
want, yeah. Cause I've got, where did my book go? So for us, things that we So, like for instance, safety, who do we call if, there's problems in the parks? You have some parks that have no park rangers, some parks that do. So that will be a question for LAPD and park rangers.
Mhm.
Who do we call? And what is the priority of the calls? And
Right,
how
and
do
I think that's gonna vary depending on if there's a
know?
crime happening in the park
Right.
versus the violation of maybe permitting rules.
permitting and rules, what do you do if you see, someone behaving poorly? If someone is open fires, booze, cars on the lawn, who's responsible for that,
Mhm.
with the permitting process? The other safety thing that we came up with was the entrance and exit to Peck Park. That's really a safety hazard where there's only one way in and one way out if there's an extreme emergency. And so there needs to be better, like, what can they do to fix that? I want them to think about that.
Mhm.
What can be done to fix that problem?
Yeah, that's a big ticket question.
Yeah,
Big
right.
ticket item.
Yeah, that is.
That's gonna take research and engineering and political will and money.
And Angela came up with a wonderful remedy with some of the problems with the rental companies and the jumpers and all of that, is instead of the people that are actually getting the permits, what if we held the rental companies responsible, that they need to make sure that the people that they're setting up for have a permit?
I think, I can't say, but I believe the city will argue that that's sort of a default position by the city, that what I'm beginning to sense here is an important component of moving forward on this will be for the city, the Recreation and Parks Department, to revise its
I agree.
permits. To
That
give
was-
more to include more language about specifics, jump bouncy castles, numbers of people, timelines, not excluding neighborhood residents from the play areas even during a permitted event, all that kind of thing needs to be put into language in the permit process.
Right. And I think
So
that is
that
going to
then they can be held accountable.
that will be part of our recommendations in the end, that we hold them accountable in our recommendations.
Right, and I think it's fair to ask Rec and Parks, okay, your form's pretty good. It states the facts and all that, and lets you know what people are bringing and et cetera, but the people who are getting the permits need to know the expectations of respect for the fact that they're being permitted to do this in the first place. So I think it's going to be revision of paperwork, among other things.
You're right.
And that kind of additional information to the people getting the permits will help them understand better what the process is and say, I guess we can't do this, whatever it
Right.
is.
But the other
So-
thing is too, there's no, with the permits, there's no enforcement. It's an honor system.
Well,
And so if they don't have one, nobody checks to see if they have a permit. So it's kind of like a free for all.
I
And
believe
so
you,
they need something
yeah.
in place to be checking these permits. And if they don't have one, there needs to be consequences.
That's what Dan's saying. They need to go back on their list of what their application, okay? Where they have to have on there what equipment you're gonna be having. How many
Well, they do
chairs,
have that.
how many people, okay? Are you doing, is there gonna be a jumper? Is there gonna be a guy that does
Right.
the jumpers, okay?
Have you seen the permits, John?
The
They
one that somebody
all,
sent,
all
yeah,
of that, all of that has it on it.
right. And
It does have it. but it
Right,
doesn't
okay,
have-
so then it has to be, they've got to enforce that when at the time of telling them, hey, we only allow 50 chairs per group. You can't have, 40-foot tents. You can't have, because,
Right.
it's just, they've got to have a certain amount of regulations too. Because if not, then look at that last Saturday was
Right.
ridiculous. The whole
It's really
field.
weird, John. They have the signs up and they have the regulations, and this is the thing that is troublesome with Rec and Park, is that they have the signs up, they have the regulations, everything's on the permit, but most of the people, like for Harbor Highlands example, they don't get permits. They just show
Well,
up, the bouncers, and
Right,
set 'em up,
and a lot of them
and nobody
ignore.
comes around and checks whether or not they have a permit.
That's why they don't care. That's why we had 5, 6 of these bouncers in there, because that sign says one thing, Mel, but they don't care because they know that no one's coming out to tell
Exactly.
them any different.
And that's the thing
Well-
that needs to change, is they need some sort of enforcement that's going out and checking this, and not some older guy with a ponytail that people are harassing who has no bite. It needs to be
Well,
more of a security
I
person.
cut my ponytail off.
No,
Yeah.
but it needs to be some sort of security person that has bite, that there's some
Yeah.
sort of consequences.
You're both correct about this, but keep in mind that the very thing you're talking about will lead to the city needing to spend more money. And it comes back to what money is in the budget to perform these functions.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
so the
How important-
almighty dollar is the power.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And how important is it to the city that this kind of enforcement be undertaken? It's hard to, I think people like Deanne and others in the department do great work, but they work a 40, 50-hour week and they're done.
Right.
And unless there is a funded source for officers or community advisors or ambassadors to come and do the work you're talking about, it'll never happen. And
No, and their hands are tied. That's why there's nothing she can do.
See, and I'm concerned Pacific Region got cut,
right, and
when other parts
that's
didn't.
one of the questions I'm recrafting is about that subject. How are the limited funds available to Recreation and Parks for specific tasks such as maintenance and security? How are they allocated within the city? I think that's a basic question. But what we're talking about here is a sea change in how the department operates.
Right.
Because we're looking for customer satisfaction based on real time rather than learning lessons from things that have happened in the past. We need the ability to have people there on site to, I just thought of something. A neighbor of ours, young man, works for our city of RPV, and he's the ambassador. He's the guy on staff at Fred Hess Park. Now they have a community building, so it's much better set up for this kind of thing. But he's the one who checks permits, who observes, and he doesn't necessarily intervene if there's an unpleasant situation, but he can call the sheriffs immediately. And so RPV does things differently.
Yeah, it sounds like.
Just the fact that Eastview Park gets locked every night, as far as I know, including the restrooms and the gate to the parking lot, they get locked because the city has made resources available to see that that happens. Now, I may be made a liar. Maybe that isn't true anymore, but it's been true most of the time that Eastview Park has been in business. And the city of LA is a much bigger machine, much differently operated. But my feeling is, well, why can't we do some of that?
Exactly. If they can
Yeah.
do it in the county, why can't we do it with our parks?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and-
because
and-
you're right on that, because even PV High gets shut down, is locked down. You can't go through it or even at night. Okay?
Well, I hope
And
you, I hope you can't go through any high school at night.
yeah, well, some you can. I mean, even Torrance, I remember going, you can still,
Well,
but
Yeah.
you know,
that
but-
may have changed, John, since,
it could be, but I know
Recent.
the parks you're talking about, because a
Yeah.
friend of ours that lives there, he says at night you can't get into a park after 6 or 7 o'clock
Right.
in the summertime, and wintertime is like 5 o'clock.
at the very least, the parking lots are locked,
Yeah,
at the very least. So
No.
these are the kinds of things we need to be talking
Yeah,
to the
so,
city about, not just Deanne, not even the department, the head of the department maybe, but whoever has crafted the philosophy of how parks and recreational facilities operate in this city. That's who we need to be talking to. And I don't know if that person even exists anymore. This may be a
right,
time-honored budget process that has been going on so long, nobody knows how it works. The contact I have in the city at a facility said it's a very mysterious process.
maybe we ought to get Garcetti to come to
And-
this meeting.
I think he's taken off for
Yeah.
New Delhi. or something.
well, Dan,
No.
the other thing that's interesting with the whole thing that I found out when I called the executive branch, to get the emails for Jimmy and all of that, to invite them and all for the big wigs, for the executive branch of,
In recreation and
Park?
parks,
for Rec and Park. Yeah,
Okay.
for Jimmy,
that guy, yeah.
the guy in charge and
The head
the
of the department.
old lady and all that, to
Yeah.
get their names and find out their emails and all that, they, their executive secretary told me that I told her that I needed decision makers, and she says, well, you understand that Jimmy even isn't so much a decision maker, that Jimmy is the one that, like Deanne and all, send everything to him, a plan. And then it goes to him and then he approves it, but not the final approval. It has to go to like she said the board. So I'm thinking maybe the park commission, the commissioners.
Yeah, that's right. And
And
ultimately,
you're- They're
the,
the ones that approve any permit changes, any policy changes, any
Yeah.
budget changes, any of that. They approve that, which I was in shock.
Yeah.
That it has
No,
to go all the way up there for any of that.
this is why the city and many large cities are known as information pits. They're very bureaucratic.
That's why
and we're-
everything takes so long.
And yes, and the skate park, for example. Everybody
Right.
agrees it's a miracle the skate park is open. So, but that finally was due to a city councilman taking an interest and kind of pushing it a bit from his end. You make a good point that decisions above a certain level, and it's apparently a very low level, have to go to the commission, the park commission. And if it's anything out of their purview, then it goes to the Park and Recreation Committee of the city council.
Oh, wow.
That's another layer. And they're probably as close to the deciders as you get, because usually if they wave their hand and magic wand and make a decision, then the city council will probably approve it on an almost unanimous vote. But that takes time. It all takes time. And what we're talking about is asking very respectfully but strongly that the city spend more money in a particular area of civic experience. It's going to be tough, but I think those if we continue to work on it, we'll get there. But it's why it's so important that we ask the right questions and know what we really are looking for.
And the bottom line is it's their civic duty to protect those parks, because you
Well,
have people there. No, and I know I was
Done.
telling Dan about a thing that
You're right.
happened with my daughter and my grandkids. She took them to the park. This was a few weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago. And she took them to the park. Some people had a bouncer right there and they were having a party. There might've been 30, 40 people. The kids came over and said, you can't use the swings. You gotta go. And my daughter looks at him going, I don't think so. You know, and because they were going and telling some of the other people that. And so, she said, I don't think so. We're not going anywhere. So the kid went and got the mother or the father, whoever it was. And he comes over, he goes, you know, we have this section of the park right now. And my daughter looks at him and I says, you know what? I got a great idea. You stay on your section and we'll stay here. This is public property. It's open to the public. We can be on the swings. You did not rent the swings. You did not buy this section. You're there having a party, so you have a party. If your kids want to come over and play, let them play. And she told him, she says, if you think this is wrong, let's call LAPD right here. They're right around the other block and see who goes. You have no
Well,
right to say, you know, and
yeah,
my daughter spoke up and told him, yeah, but they're doing that.
I've heard that happen with other people. I've had a
Yeah.
knock on my door before from people saying that was happening from people.
That's right. And that's a case without spending a lot of money where the city can make absolutely crystal clear what the rules are when
Yeah.
people sign up for these things.
Exactly.
I don't think the kind of thing we're talking about will totally eliminate people having unpermitted events in the park. But if the rules are clear in writing, we have a lot better chance of making things work.
Yeah.
Either if not in real time, then in retrospect. There has to be really clear guidance from the city about how the rules function and how the parks operate, even if you're having an event there. So we've got so much to consider here, and I don't think we're gonna.
Well, I agree. We may not, like we discussed on Sunday, Angela, we may not be able, we'll touch on a lot of things and we'll really get digging into information on a lot of things. But two things are going to happen. One thing is we're going to cover a lot of stuff. And hopefully we'll get some good information out of it and kind of poke the pig a little bit to get them to start thinking about making some changes. We're going to have to hold them accountable. So we're going to have to tell them at the end of this meeting, town hall, that we're going to get back in touch with you in 60 days. We're going to see where you're at in some of our suggestions.
Right.
And we're going to have to write a letter and poke them to see what changes they've made and implemented, if any.
Right, and that's what neighborhood councils should and
Right.
can do.
And
Right.
then
Yes.
after that, if we see no changes and see nothing improving and see nothing moving, then we may have to do another one of these and maybe make it more specific to Rec and Park only.
Or Melanie, Public Safety and Issue Committee, we continue on this journey. Because
Exactly.
number one, it's a public safety issue, and then it's also an issues committee thing.
Right.
So we can continue as both committees. I think you and I talked about this one time about it. We can continue this. We stay on top. Do we got to write more letter? You write another letter and send it out and go, hey, we're waiting. What are you doing? It's kind of like what Dan does with the Navy deal. Okay,
Yeah.
we're still calling, talking, sending letters. Okay, they want to deal with this next year. That's fine, but we know where we stand at least. And then the same thing with this. This
We're going to
is
have to
the
follow up.
yeah. This is the
Yeah.
beginning and the icebreaker to meet everybody, talk to everybody, let them know that we care and this and that. Now we got to continue the basically between us boys and girls. We have to continue the fight.
Yeah.
Because it'll be one of those things, like you said, you know, Dan said it before, once you send it and we drop it, well, they're just going to take and put it in Pandora's box and go, well, they're not bothering us anymore. It's a done deal.
Yeah. So that's part of like 8, you know, how do we accountability for the forum, plan the implementation. That's going to be like the final part of this, that we're going to have to hold them accountable and follow up with them for implementation of the things that we suggest.
Well, I would,
I think
yeah.
next meeting at the 13th, what I want to do is focus pretty much that whole meeting on the 13th and 19th. Like I said, in developing the questions, developing the body of this forum of what we want to get out of it for each section, and develop what we're sending to each thing. When I send the
Okay.
Zoom link out, they're going to get what they need to talk about. So we need to format that of what we're sending to each one. The mission statement, does anybody have a problem with the mission statement?
No, can I say something real quick? I'm gonna turn my camera off for just a second. I have a fly I have to catch. I'm still here. I just don't want you to see me like running around.
You're
We
too,
got one of those electric zappers. It
I
really works.
do. I just don't want you to see me using it. I don't want to be on video swinging my tennis racket zapper at a fly.
so when we started, this mission statement was developed when we started this ad hoc before we had our first meeting. When we had our first meeting at Sirens with the core people that were starting this forum, this is what came out of it that was developed. John was there.
This committee
Seems-
will be grounded in the.
Seems reasonable.
No, I like the mission statement. I
Yeah.
think it's
Me, because the way I like to word things, that the goal is to keep our community safe and putting back the stuff that you took out and didn't care less about anymore. Yeah. Because sometimes, I'm sorry, that's just me, but it was there before. 2 years ago it was there, before the pandemic.
I know.
So you can't tell me the pandemic, I know it ruined a lot of crap in this place, but my God, you don't have the guy anymore going around checking permit. I mean, come on, like I said, the ball, they just drop everything, I cannot believe that the city, with the money that they get and I mean, a few $1 million here, a few $1 million there. I mean, you got big parts that you take care of. The one park on Normandy, they take care of that damn thing so beautifully, But what about these other ones that are here, The 4 or 5 parks we got here in our area. I mean,
Yep.
I don't know. But that's perfect. The mission statement is perfect.
Okay, and then the last thing is general public comment. Does anybody have any general public comment at all?
I got one.
You do? Okay.
Are trucks still being able to drive up into Harbor Highland? Or are
Are they
people still
able
cutting
to?
the locks and pulling out the?
Oh, everybody's still doing it. They aren't supposed to, but they do, because the ones over here by Capitol, the entrance on Capitol,
Yeah,
the channel lock things, they busted those now. So they can just pull the poles out. They aren't locked anymore into the ground. They busted that.
yeah, because I don't see them on your side, Dan. I don't see them.
Not
right.
often.
No,
No,
they
no.
don't,
Yeah.
because they fixed them and made those so they can't break them anymore when they were doing it before on
Well-
the side by the bathrooms and also the side by
Well,
Ann's house.
here
But
again,
no, they never fixed the ones by Capitol. So what they did,
right, but then
now
here
they
again,
found those.
you half-ass something.
yep,
You fix once, but okay, you spend $5,000 to fix. You couldn't spend another $1,500 to fix the other side. See, this is where it blows me away. There's, I understand, but again, my dad used to say one thing: the dollar is your friend. I don't care how many
Right.
relatives, friends, or anything you have, because the dollar gets you in trouble and the dollar gets you out of trouble. And it's just amazing how you know, this whole park thing, and we're gonna find this out, that it's gonna be about the almighty dollar.
It is.
It's
Well, that's
all
true.
about,
That's true of
yeah.
everything.
yeah,
It's-
I
it's
mean,
True of everything.
Another thing too, for public comment, people just in general, I've gotten a lot of messages, tons of messages in this weird post on Facebook too, for the neighborhood watch, that there's an elderly couple that's living in a 240 beat up Z in front of Harbor Highlands Park. They've been there for 4 days.
The 240 what?
240Z.
40Z.
Very
It's
beat
a,
up.
it's a faded
very
blue,
dirty. It's
aluminum windows. It's,
yeah, they've got tinfoil all up in the windows. She wears tinfoil too and stuff on her head. So they are, there's some mental issues going on there, and with both of them. And I've talked to them. Their car is broke down right now. They can't move. But the thing is, like I told everybody today that keeps texting me and everything else, that there's nothing right now illegally that they're doing wrong,
Right.
because there's no sign posted that they can't park there. As long as they aren't going in the park at night, they're doing nothing illegally wrong, because
Yeah.
they aren't blocking the sidewalk or anything.
I'll go another step with you on that. You talked to Lori about it.
Yes, I did. I've
And-
contacted LA Hop, and they've been out twice.
Yeah, well, Lori got a
them.
hold of, Lori got a hold of them, but also got a hold of Harbor Interfaith,
Right, they've been
And-
out. LA
and they
Hop's
talked to
been
them.
out.
and they don't want to go
They
no
don't want
special
services
place. They
right now.
don't, they want to stay right there.
No. And that is their choice, and sometimes it takes time. For
And they're
any,
not young. They're not young people.
they're between their 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it just, my heart
Yikes.
my heart goes out to them to be in the spot that they are at that age.
I suspect when he bought that 240Z, he never dreamed he'd be in this position.
Yeah, I just, again, it's complex and it's complicated.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, we're in front of the park. My kids don't feel comfortable, blah, 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 blah.
They're harmless.
And I said, they're harmless. They stay in their car most of the time. They do.
With this
And
heat,
they
I feel
sleep in
so
their car.
bad.
Last night, it kind of worried me because we came home from a concert at 12:30. And it's so hot, and sleeping in the car, they had both their doors wide open. So anybody coming down Capitol, if they aren't careful, could have like whacked that door.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And, it could have been a problem. So safety wise,
Well,
I'm concerned a little bit about
You
that.
just identified why we're in the fix we're in. Those are two folks out of what's the new number today? 71,000 in the county. This one story out of 40 or 50,000 stories.
Mhm.
Each one, while not totally different, there are going to be a lot of stories that sound an awful lot the same. We don't have the capacity or the ability at this point, without wise decision making, to encourage people to get help. It's really, really a tough thing. And I think that is totally a separate subject, which is why this is in public comment. But
Right.
if we can get the city to make the city a little safer by writing clearer instructions on the permits that they give out, that's a step forward.
Yeah.
It's one of 5,000 steps that need to be
Right.
taken.
Yeah.
And I know we have impatient stakeholders who are very unhappy with us because things don't magically
Yeah.
change. But we know that this is all a process. It's all something that takes time and energy and effort. And
It does.
we're volunteers, but if we can take a tiny step and hold some of the folks, not hold them accountable, but the folks who get paid to do this, if we can encourage them to develop the angels of their better nature by making things a little easier for
Exactly.
the community and thereby for themselves, then we will have accomplished something.
And that's the correct way that,
Exactly.
encourage them,
Yeah,
make them feel like we care.
A
yeah,
lot of stakeholders
you
don't
know.
understand either that, like you said, Dan, we can't make a magic wand and make things happen. They're like, why can't you make them leave? Why can't you get LAPD out here to make them leave? I said, they're doing nothing illegal. I can't make them leave, and LAPD
Right.
will not come. They are not committing a crime. They are not doing anything that
Right.
Exactly.
law doesn't allow them to do.
There's
Yeah,
an old
and-
expression about when something's hard to do, you say it would take an act of Congress to accomplish it.
That's right.
Frankly, that doesn't work.
Right.
Congress isn't going to come in. The city council isn't going to come in and make these things better. We have to do it from our level, pushing upward gently but insistently to make things better. And I think if our town hall brings out 2 or 3 positive steps that we can take
Exactly.
to improve the situation, then we'll be earning our very high salaries.
Even,
Yeah.
even Dan, if what comes out of this town hall is that they revise the permitting process and the enforcement process,
Yeah.
that would be like a gold star.
It would be,
Right.
it would be wonderful. That they will, and I think in their own minds, they think that's a fine idea. But it's money, 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 and
Mhm.
so
But at
we
least-
get,
At least we've done our due diligence with sending letters out every other month, writing this up, doing this up, making phone calls. Locks are broke again. What do you? Okay, we've
Well,
done it.
and-
Now we're gonna put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna come in and we're gonna face to face talk to you.
And
Okay,
Dan,
maybe not face to face, but we're gonna talk to you.
And Dan, I gave you guys the target swamp
Yes.
issue.
yes,
Because it's really, I did it as a stakeholder because it's just way too close.
Yeah.
And Ray said I did everything the way it should have been done because,
no, your research was excellent. John, we got her.
and I got a
yeah.
phone call from corporate, but I'll talk to you about that outside of this.
Okay, yeah, we're just doing public comment. That's
Yeah.
great.
Well,
That's great. Okay.
yeah, the situation with the pictures and everything you sent me and Dan, I think it merits before our next committee, we should get together and talk about that real quick and see.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I
No,
think
it's-
we ought to do that. And I think, you, Mel and I, we could sit down somewhere and then go over all of this stuff. And then we can go and start, because the real, and I know I gotta watch what I say, but the real culprit in this whole deal of Target is the guy sitting on his butt in Target. And it's, he's told Mel 100 times, yeah, well, this and that, and then the landscapers are there. You know what,
Yeah,
dude?
let's
You're the
let's-
man.
let's step back from that. That's something we do need to
Yeah.
address.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Melanie's given us a good start. Thank you.
Um,
So let's,
any more public comment?
no,
So we'll get back together on the 13th. And like I said, for that agenda, I think we want to totally focus completely on one, the
Questions?
formatting of the forum, as far as the questions.
Mhm.
To fill in like in between all of the stuff, what we're gonna send them. So like our personal part of the agenda, our separate agenda, what it's gonna look like for LAPD questions, Rec and Park questions, information we want to send them that say, hey, we want you to talk about this,
okay,
And then also what I'm gonna work on in the next couple of days, if not this meeting, the 19th meeting, I'll have it, is a new invite that's gonna be to like the faith base, the press,
Okay.
in CD15 to invite them as guests, special guests
Mm.
to come to the forum, not
Good.
panelists, special guests.
Right. Good.
So,
Sounds great.
And I think CD15, he should be there because he's still in charge.
who, Joe?
And Joe,
He's on the panelist invite list.
Well,
isn't he?
he's on the panel listing if somebody comes from CD15,
Oh.
but
I
what
know,
will
but
happen is they will be there participating in a capacity if it's Jacob or if it's Ryan, then it would be them just sitting there on the panel and chiming in at any point that they need to. But otherwise, if it's Joe, I would like it to be Joe, and I am going to have an invite sent to Joe personally.
yeah.
As a
And if it is
panelist or in-
Joe, then I will make.
No, as a
room.
panelist,
If
you want him as a
Joe- if
panelist.
Joe responds, then I will change the format where at the top, Joe will can make comments for 5 minutes of a comment to everybody. You know, because we need to allow him to speak if he does show.
Because, you know, I look at it, he's one of the ones that votes on where money goes and everything from the
Right.
city. And I
And
mean,
so will
who
the
else, who would
prospective
know more
candidate.
than that but him, you know?
But so are the prospective candidates that are coming.
Right.
Or one ends up in his spot, they're gonna inherit all of his
right.
stuff.
Right. No, and then having the other two there too. That's, yes.
Yeah, really, it's only like, what, a week and a half before the election? This town hall?
No,
Yeah.
What do you mean?
well
Not
over-
all is a week and a half before the
Week and a
election.
half.
Sure
Yeah.
is November 8th or something like that.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
November 8th or 4th, something like that, yeah.
Eight.
So it's close.
So maybe
Yeah.
Joe will come because he'll want to do like his last official act.
Maybe,
as our-
that's what we're hoping, yeah.
That would be a last official thing on the 27th to kind of get our last hurrah in there.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Maybe if you tell him we got some nice pasta with meatballs and stuff, he'll come.
He's there. He's there till the end of the year.
Italian sauce. Oh,
Yeah,
that's true, yeah.
yeah, they don't fill the position until January. They
Right.
get
Roundabout.
yeah, it's the same thing as like
get
the
elected,
president,
but they
yeah.
don't fill the position. They're like pro tem until January,
Mhm.
and then they take this office over.
Right.
But
Yeah.
anyway,
Okay.
so I
Thank
think
you.
this concludes our meeting, and we will see everybody at 6 o'clock on the 13th.
Remember to stop the recording.
And I will stop the recording. Yes.